Since Kris Richard has taken over the back end of the Dallas Cowboys defense, they have clearly shown a bias towards a type of cornerback. Richard, looking to build this Dallas unit in a similar form to his Seattle teams, has prioritized long corners both in height and arm length. As his responsibilities within the organization increase, it's only fair to expect Kris Richard to have more say in who the Cowboys defense acquires in terms of talent. This means we should anticipate more defensive backs who fit his type, such as Kentucky Wildcats cornerback Lonnie Johnson Jr. The player so why does Lonnie Johnson fit the mold of what Kris Richard tends to look for? Well, for starters, he is 6 feet 3 inches and 206 pounds with 32¼ arms. He's a long corner with excellent size and the trait profile which indicates he could be the perfect candidate to play cornerback in Dallas. But while he might look great on paper, the tape is always the most important factor for evaluating and projecting talent. And, for Johnson, the tape isn't all that great. Despite his length, Johnson struggled mightily in press man coverage at Kentucky. Too often he is late or ineffective with his hands, leaving him susceptible to being blown by the opposing receiver. He often loses balance due to poor footwork, and is rather average with his hips and quick change of direction. Where Johnson was his best in college was in zone coverage, playing his deep third of Kentucky's cover 3 look. Rarely did he allow receivers behind him in zone coverage, and displayed good instincts when deciding whether to jump routes or play more conservatively when playing in that deep third. He was not nearly as comfortable underneath, and Kentucky didn't ask him to play in that role too often. Because of how big he is, Johnson is able to contest at the catch point regularly, yet he only deflected 9 passes in 2 years. What gives me the most hope for Lonnie Johnson as a prospect, besides his length, is his Senior Bowl performance. Johnson impressed daily at the Senior Bowl, looking more comfortable in man coverage and playing much better in his press technique. Was this Johnson becoming more comfortable over time and a sign of things to come at the next level, or was it an anomaly that we shouldn't read too much into? The answer to that question is up to the individual teams, but his combined performance will play a huge role in how those teams answer. The fit, as I've discussed already, Lonnie Johnson Jr. fits what Kris Richard tends to look for in his cornerbacks. He is long, tall, and relatively athletic, making him a clay piece for a coach like Richard to develop. The question is, however, how much development can really occur? The highs for Johnson are rather high when he maximizes his natural abilities on the field. But too often he is sloppy in technique, or looks lost in man coverage. Whether or not Richard can fix Johnson completely may never be seen, but teams, especially this one, could fall in love with him as a prospect for what he can become if it all comes together. Name: Rodney Anderson. School: Oklahoma. Conference: Big 12. Position: running back. Class: RS Junior. Jersey: No. 24. Recruitment rating: 4-star HT, 6 feet 1 inch WT, 219 DOB. The 12th of September 96. Highlights: Rodney Anderson, 2017-18 highlights. Oklahoma. Like, comment, and subscribe for more. Follow my Instagram, @SisHighlightsSongs. Don't know me, by Trade of Truth. Better Days, by Trade of Truth. I do not own any of these highlights or music clips. Before we get into the player, we should really try to get to know Rodney Anderson the person. He attended Katy High School in Katy, Texas, one of the powerhouse HS football programs in the state. He was a 4-star recruit who received offers from Auburn, Baylor, Texas A. He originally committed to Texas A. He had an up-and-down career on the football field at Oklahoma because of injuries, but did graduate with a degree in Arts and Sciences in May 2018 and is pursuing his master's in Human Relations. Pros: Rodney Anderson has the ideal size and athleticism to become a featured back in the NFL. He shows good patience and vision on film to allow his offensive linemen to secure their blocks before sticking his foot in the ground and exploding through the hole. He runs behind his pads and shows good strength, loose hips, and balance to run through arm tackles. more than capable of picking up those dirty yards, and is surprisingly slippery as a runner in the open field. Anderson is capable of playing in a power scheme or a zone-heavy scheme like the Dallas Cowboys deploy. He has been featured in a number of rushing concepts including gap power, red action, and power sweeps. His talent also carries over to the passing game. He possesses soft hands and looks natural catching the ball both out of the backfield and down the field as a receiver. Solid in pass protection, but this is an area of his game where he can improve. Cons: the biggest negative about Rodney Anderson is his injury history at Oklahoma. He is basically a one-year wonder because of 3 separate season-ending injuries, but bad things happen in 3, so maybe that's behind him. Durability will be a question mark entering the NFL though. His vision is sometimes questionable, especially on inside and outside zone reads. Has a tendency to try to bounce runs to the outside too often or cut back too quickly. Shows good explosiveness, but only average burst through the hole. Seems to have adequate long speed on tape, but his 40-yard dash time will be heavily scrutinized if he's able to run at the NFL scouting combine. In the passing game he needs to improve his route running and pass protection if he wants to be a 3-down back in the NFL. The talent is there, just not the production and consistency. Will also have to prove he can be productive against stacked boxes at the next level since he rarely saw any in college due to Oklahoma's spread offense. Cowboys fit: if the Dallas Cowboys are looking for a running back capable of being a featured back in the NFL, while also spelling Ezekiel Elliott from time to time, then Rodney Anderson is their guy. His combination of power, balance, explosiveness, and scheme diversity could come in handy as their RB2. Not only would he provide a good insurance policy if the unthinkable were to happen to Zeke, but he could take over if they decide not to give No. 21 a contract extension. There is a lot to like about Rodney Anderson's game and his ability to contribute in the running and passing game, but he is not by any means a clean prospect. Despite his immense talent, his injury history and lack of consistency in college is bothersome. But, as a mid-round pick, the reward far outweighs the risks. Paired with Elliott, the Cowboys could have a formidable 1-2 punch in their backfield and could pound opposing defenses into submission. Our search for a new pass catcher for the Cowboys in this year's draft class continues, this time with a wide receiver. South Carolina's Deebo Samuel put himself on the map with a strong sophomore season, but fell off a bit due to a severe leg injury early in 2017. After a strong 2018 campaign, and an impressive performance at the Senior Bowl, Samuel has played himself back into early day 2 draft discussions. The player I don't know that anyone won Senior Bowl week more than Deebo Samuel did this January. Samuel, who had to deal with some poor quarterback play throughout his college career, didn't get much of a break in that department either at the Senior Bowl. But he did show out every day at practice, and seemed to go viral on Twitter at least once a day. During his actual collegiate season, Samuel finished with 882 yards and 11 touchdowns on 62 catches, solid production especially coming off an injury and playing in a limited offense. Initially in the NFL, Samuel is going to make his money in the slot. He's a shifty yet explosive receiver type and can quickly beat defenders with his speed. He's not the speedster than someone like Marquise Brown is, but he is explosive enough in his own right, especially in terms of short area quickness. Samuel isn't someone who will go up and grab the ball consistently, or even make up for inaccurate throws as often as some others might be able to. But he does have reliable hands, and his ability to get open quickly and create separation should give someone like Dak Prescott easy windows to find him in for completions. What makes Deebo Samuel so fun for me to watch, though, is his ability after the catch. Despite his lack of size, Samuel is tough as nails, and rarely defers out of bounds or avoids contact. He's built well enough to withstand that contact as well, and when he gets free, he's hard to catch and bring down. the fit. Drafting Deebo Samuel 58th overall would be a heck of a haul for the Dallas Cowboys. In need of another playmaker in the passing game, the Cowboys could make immediate use of Samuel's talents in 2019, specifically as a slot receiver. As has been mentioned ad nauseum, it seems unlikely that Cole Beasley will be returning to the team this season, which makes the need for a slot wideout that much greater. Samuel has big playability from the slot already, and has traits which project him to potentially work outside as well. If he tests well enough at the combine, reps on the outside could very well be in his future. Samuel should be on every Cowboys fan's short list of draft targets in the second round this year. By now it's no secret the Dallas Cowboys don't have a first-round draft pick in the upcoming 2019 NFL Draft. The Amari Cooper trade took care of that, meaning sitting through the entire day one could be a little tiresome for us fans. But day 2 of the draft could get really interesting for the Cowboys, especially as it pertains to the players' positions they could target. Today, I wanted to take a look at a few of the day 2 tight end prospects the Dallas Cowboys could be interested in. This would be the second tier of TEs behind the likes of TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, and Irv Smith, all of which should be gone by the time the Cowboys are on the clock at 58th overall in the second round. I really believe that if the Dallas Cowboys plan on drafting a starting caliber tight end in this year's draft class, they are going to have to do it with either their second or third round selection. The TEs available beyond that point probably aren't much of an upgrade over Blake Jarwin or Dalton Schultz, which is praise in itself about the upside of the young TEs they currently have on the roster. With all of that in mind, I put together a list of 3 tight ends I would personally target on day 2 if I were the Cowboys. I tried to identify what they typically look for in a starting tight: size, speed, athleticism, while also taking into account the ones that are versatile enough to contribute on all 3 downs in both the running and passing game. Isaac Nauta, Georgia. Isaac Nauta is a former 5-star recruit who never really lived up to his billing during his time with the Georgia Bulldogs. He's a top-notch blocker both in line and when split out wide, but due to the Bulldogs' run-heavy offense he never really developed into the pass catcher many envisioned him becoming. He possesses good speed and terrific hands to be a threat in the passing game though, even if he doesn't show a lot of separation ability on film. Nauta looks and plays like a prototypical Dallas Cowboys tight end. He has the desired size, 6 feet 4 inches, 246, athleticism, and skill set to step in and be the Cowboys' TE1 as a rookie. His blocking ability alone will get him on the field early, but he also shows enough pass-catching ability to be a threat in the passing game as well. Overall, Nauta is a pro-ready 3-down guy who is a high-floor prospect with very little downside. Jace Sternberger, Texas A. He was basically a complete unknown before the 2018 season and had just 1 catch for 5 yards during his 2 years at Kansas before deciding to transfer to JUCO. He didn't fare much better at Northern Oklahoma A. Sternberger is almost the exact opposite of Isaac Nauta, but still has the desired traits the Dallas Cowboys look for in their tight ends. Unlike Nauta, Sternberger is much more accomplished as a passing threat. He runs and moves like a big wide receiver and possesses good separation ability. Due to his size, 6 feet 4 inches, 250, and athletic ability, he is difficult to bring down after the catch as well. He's not as accomplished as a blocker as Nauta, but he shows good technique and will improve in time with added strength. He has the ability to be the Cowboys' TE1 as a rookie. Dawson Knox, Ole Miss. Dawson Knox is a former walk-on quarterback at Ole Miss, but spent the last 2 years playing tight end for the Rebels. He is one of the more difficult tight ends to evaluate in this draft class due to the unorthodox offense he played in and his usage in the system, but may actually be more pro-ready than many of us believe. He does have the size, 6 feet 4 inches, 250, speed, and natural hands to be a complete three-down Tay in the NFL, and reminds me a little bit of George Kittle when he was entering the league. Knox is still pretty raw as a player, but moldable, and he has the upside to be one of the best tight ends in this entire draft class. He'd probably compete to be the Dallas Cowboys' TE1 as a rookie, but it might be better for him to be in a timeshare of sorts while he develops his God-given talent. Nevertheless, I have a hard time seeing him making it out of day 2 of the draft, especially after he puts on a show at the NFL Scouting Combine. His talent might be too much for the Cowboys to pass up.